Another good morning. I'm going to see if I can put this together to make some sense. So, I read a lot of commercial nuclear related, all nuclear related articles. So, great deal of reading, but that's just me. So, most interesting articles I've seen have been about the reviews of past accidents. So, deep in those articles, and you have to go looking for the kind of continuity in the stories. Where are they saying the same thing? And even scientists give you hints as to what might ought to be done next, even though they can't affect that. So here's the real story of how the nuclear industry is gaming us. And to me, it became clear in the latest series of articles, but it's a constant thread throughout nuclear conversations. So what do? A major catastrophe happens, and they deny and obfuscate everything. So, no, it's nothing to worry about. Don't be concerned. It's no big deal. Trust us. Well, there's a warning flag right there. So, the industry knows from their sheer size and the captured media that we have today, that they can keep on pushing these doubts out about what you're hearing. They can place a shadow of a doubt on readings that makes you wonder if the readings are even readings. It's magic, and they aren't when done properly. So here is the big end game for this global industry. They will allow small studies to be done in and around areas. And again, look over the decades of doing this. This is exactly what happens. And we have fairly consistently a lot of the same small players doing measurements, because not many people play in this world. So Woods Hole is one that began doing measurements and updates about Fukushima data. Now, the problem is everything they presented was good science, but it wasn't enough science. They specifically chose conversation isotopes and elements that are common and people will understand. They ignore the rest of the hundreds of isotopes released and focus on just one. And if you look at the picture of that just one, it's not an ugly picture, so it's kind of deceiving how harmful a single decay of these elements are. So the industry has been very good about allowing just a few studies, just enough to get some information back out of that is real and we can learn from, but they're small enough they can be torn apart and picked apart by others. If you go back in my videos, when I went to Sweden, I went to the who does the goddamn Nobel Prize gang, Swedish Academies of Science or something like that. So this was a meeting between specifically the nuclear industry proponents and the local people that were interested in the conversation. So questions were asked. Sweden specifically, their take on it was, we need to do local studies. We can't afford to do this big study. We want to keep this local and small and directed so that we know that it's good science. And guess what? They do. But it's such a small part of the questions that should be answered that you never get a full answer. You get noise in the wind. So this is a decadal commercial, actually it's just the nuclear corporations making money, tactic that they will use. So they'll give us a little bit of good science and then just try to smear all over it. Just try to say, well, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Well, I have not seen a study that was done incorrectly. I have seen a study that did not inform us enough, because of games in science that wealth can play. So that is the big long end game. Look at the responses around 3 Mile Island. Look at the responses around Chernobyl. Look at the responses around Fukushima. There was very little honesty in the presentation of the severity of these accidents because it would have made people scared. It would have made people like nuclear even less than they already do. So if this industry, just like the coal industry and its grandfathered in pollution, did anything about itself along the way, then maybe we could trust them. But they don't. It's purely a money play for a game of nuclear power that has no life cycle. Its life cycle interferes directly with humanity's life cycle. We do not have the technology. We don't want to spend the money is the bigger issue on cleaning any of these areas right. That is a decadal old story on nuclear waste. I could list off 10 sites in America right off the top of my head. You go find them that have nuclear pollution, that are harming the environment, that have huge potential for nasty, and people just want to build more. All right. That really wasn't a rant. It was a decadal timeline of how the nuclear industry has obfuscated and demonized science in order to further their own agenda. This is a matter of faith. You can't have faith in chemical companies. You have to have an understanding. Their motives are profit. Their motives are power and not altruism. So that's a word America needs to relearn. Peace out, folks. Love y'all. Love the grandkids. Do what you can.